and the big live is happening.
Hey.
Hello, everybody.
How you doing?
All the brothers and sisters.
Good to see you all.
Let's see. It's not.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Now it's come up on my page. So.
I've got the wrong.
Has that delay.
I've got the wrong page. Here we go. Okay.
You're supposed to be watching from my page, Dave. Make sure you
I'm always I'm behind the scenes, and I'm always looking at the private chat tab and going, "There's no comments coming through. What's going on?"
I do that every week, and except for not this one. So.
Yep.
The only thing, the only issue I realize, and I guess if when I post something inside the comments, it's not actually good. Is it? Not everybody can see that comment, can they? Like, does that comment
only on your channel? I think.
Yeah,
only on your channel.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought.
Can I just jump in with something?
Of course you can.
I'm streaming mine onto Facebook today. Anyone that's on Facebook, if you type a comment in, please put your name or however you want to be referenced next to the comment, because Facebook doesn't send through the name of the person for privacy reasons. It just says Facebook user. So, just put in this is Dave or this is Max or whatever when you put your comment in. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
You can interrupt us all you want. I don't mind.
And I know, just
put it in there and pry in.
I should have said this before we started. So I am pretty hard break here about 4:30 my time. So an hour.
Okay.
I'm good for about an hour.
Yeah, same.
I should set up a Facebook thing for what I do one day.
So before I'll announce it now. I don't know how many people are here. It doesn't matter. But I was going to say this before we started. But so I'm way behind you guys, right? So you guys have long passed this milestone. But I will break 250,000 views on my channel probably today.
Nice.
Or maybe tomorrow at the latest. So it's pretty exciting. I think when we were here last week, I had 1,700, or 2 weeks ago, I had 1,700 subs. I'm about 3,400 right now. So I've about doubled my subs in 2 weeks.
Wow.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Break about 250,000 views. I'm about 238,000 right now. I'm going to break 250,000 today or maybe tomorrow.
Is that from that gout video?
Yes. Yeah.
It's weird when one thing takes off.
The most painful thing that I've experienced in life probably has been my most successful video. So it's about 150,000 views. So,
yeah,
nice.
Yeah, are the comments coming in pretty good then? You getting?
Oh yeah. I'm getting. I try to answer, like, really in the past I've answered every comment that's ever been left. I mean, even negative comments, I still acknowledge them normally. But, in this case, there's just almost no way to keep up. Once you start hitting those views,
it just takes a few days.
It becomes extremely difficult to literally, I still go through and heart most of those comments, but replying to everyone becomes extremely difficult. Right. So
it's worth it though. I mean, I like replying to everybody because I truly am just heart and soul into this,
I try to, but it just, it becomes a lot. So
gets out of control, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the life struggles on our health. So I'll say this really quick. I haven't been on much, just life, just typical rug pull, hectic things. But my dad's in the hospital. He's 92 and a half. It's not looking good. He's not walking. Looks like cancer. They're going to do a biopsy and some stuff went wrong with that. He was on blood thinners. They took him off. He's got a clot in the leg now and just having a ton of problems. So also, just bear with me. This is not a fun, but it's interesting on this life struggle. And we've all faced it. Everybody gets, something happening to them with loved ones at some point. Parents passing in our age group. So, luckily I think my religion has kept me pretty grounded, where I know that he's going on to where he should be, you know? And he feels the same way. We had a good heart-to-heart talk and stuff like that. But it is interesting because before I think I would have been much worse. And again, this is something I'm not trying to make light of it and then pull it into this, but you know, this is kind of the carnivore thing. And again, everybody eventually is going to lose their parents, and eventually we know we're going. So I'm pretty good with dealing with that. But yeah, it's just interesting, and I don't know how to say, but you can't really. There's no desire to like binge into a box of donuts or go buy a chocolate cake and just drown my sorrows in it. And I think some of us could have done that. I probably would have done that before. I probably would have gotten that 7-pound piece of sugar chocolate cake or something at Costco and just been like, you know, scarfing it down or something to kind of help alleviate that. But I think that mental clarity really, and being able to focus and deal with it has been interesting. So that's kind of, I think, where this life struggles on our health comes up. And I'm not sleeping well, obviously. You know, I've been getting up at 5:30 still, but sometimes I'm up at 2 a.m. and I just can't sleep because I'm just so, you know, worried.
Yeah.
And like 3, and then so I'm kind of tired in the day, and I found myself kind of napping a couple of times because I'm getting like 2 hours of sleep. So that's really been the only thing that's been bugging me. And if I sniff more, I was telling these guys just before I went on, I've been doing this test for the last month of drinking a half a cup of cream, and I don't drink it, I eat it because I mix in a bunch of egg yolks and then kind of blend it up and freeze it. And I like it that way. So I've been doing that, and I'm definitely more allergic, like sinus action kind of feel, and I can feel it like I got to clear my throat a lot more. So the experiment's done. I was just really curious.
What
and I
was
didn't
the
gain weight
experiment
really.
for,
I couldn't.
Chad?
I wanted to see like if I just kept pushing it, what dairy would, if like just because sometimes I was having more than half cup, just would it get worse? You know, would my what I feel or what I notice get worse and worse? Do you know what I'm saying? Was there like a cap to it? And the cap's pretty low, actually. It's actually not as bad as I thought. And I really didn't gain any more weight, but I think it maybe was like a pound or two. Because again, I'm pretty stable where I'm at. And my exercise has been off for, you know, a little bit because of all this going on, because I'm just, you know, I get mental. I think you guys know the difference, and everybody out there knows the difference. And I'd love to hear if you guys notice this too in the chat. The mental burnout, tiredness, like both my wife and I are just, you know what I mean, mentally drained, which does physically drain you. You know, you just kind of that mental worry.
Yeah. I don't know if, depending on, I don't know if it's partly just differences between people or differences in jobs. I know that I've talked to people, and sometimes I think my wife probably gets it a lot more now than maybe back in the day. But, you know, I've done IT work forever, right? For 27 years, something like that. And when I have a day that is hard, you know, I'm physically have done nothing, but it does exhaust you, right? There really is a thing about mental, you know, taxing the mind for that long period of time. It really does run you down, and you just feel kind of spent. Even though it's like, well,
Yeah.
what have you done? You've been sitting at a laptop all day. Yes, I have, but depending on what's going on. Oh, by the way, the cream thing, Chad, I think is. My cap is probably similar to yours, and I've just not stopped. And probably my kind of what little bit of constant drainage I have left would probably be gone completely. I should do that
Yeah.
experiment, actually. I think 2 weeks off of cream and dairy would probably get rid of what little bit of sinus issues I still have. I just haven't.
So
I just like it.
catch the part of the cream. I've been having like half a cup or more of cream every day for 30. I just wanted to see if excessive amounts of it would get worse and worse for me. I just do it because sometimes I'm really curious, because I think most of you guys know I eat that Parmesan cheese for my no gallbladder, which I wouldn't want to do if I didn't have to, but it really works. And about 1 week, I stopped doing that and just the cream too, to see if it was more of just about dairy. But it's TMI, yeah, needless to say, the Parmesan cheese works, kind of thing. So I just think it's fun to experiment with something, and it's carnivore, so it's not a big deal, to me. And I thought I would gain more weight. I thought, well, let's see if I put on like 5 pounds. But there's almost this plateau of even eating that much. Like I said, it was just a couple pounds, and that's what was strange. I still think other cheese does it, because like pasteurized cheeses and stuff, I think if people are eating too much dairy, I still think if you've got a weight, problem and you're trying to lose weight, it's not a good thing for most. Anyway, I'm done. Blah, 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 blah.
So one thing, Chad, absolutely, there is things that happen in life and for everybody. And obviously, that's a serious one that you're dealing with now. I just wonder, I think for us, those things have somewhat less impact because we're so far along kind of in the thing. I think the real struggles, or some of the real struggles for people, is when these kind of things come up, they're halfway in, right? They're 3 months in, they're 6 months in. And I know that is what causes, it causes me setbacks in other areas. I start to do something, I got something going on, and all of a sudden this huge mess. And it's just easy to ditch those kind of things, right? Immediately. And absolutely with, it happens with everything. I mean, people who want to quit drinking, and then all of a sudden some tragedy, and then, they find themselves at the bottle again, right? Or at the donuts, or whatever it is. And that's the place that's the real struggle that people have is, when they're in the midst of trying to make life change, and then you have some kind of real tragedy, or sometimes it didn't have to be that serious. Stress compounds, right? And so it truly is just a straw that broke the camel's back when it comes to stress.
Yeah.
Because we all have a certain stress threshold, and the more areas that you can eliminate in your life, the better. But eventually, it's the one small thing sometimes that will push you over the edge. So it is an interesting thing.
Let's get back to it.
Yeah, you just throw your hands up. It's like, what's the point, right?
One thing that's interesting is I'm almost burnt out, tired of the taste of that kind of carnivore ice cream. I'm just kind of done with it too.
What carnivore ice cream have you been eating?
I just make it. I've always made it this way. I just literally put some in a dish, and I either blend it up or I don't, like froth it up, or I don't. Put in sometimes a little bit of vanilla and then like egg yolks. And that's it.
Oh, okay. That's what we use. Now we do make it in an ice cream maker. So heavy whipping cream.
I don't.
Vanilla,
I just stick it in the thing and come back
egg.
half an hour later and stir it up, and then come back half an hour later and stir it up and call it good. Or I put it in those little molds, the little silicone. Yeah. They're like a tray that's this
My
big.
wife
and
does
has
that for coffee.
1 teaspoon kind of things, and then I just eat those. But it's interesting though that I don't really care. It's just getting to be too, you know what I mean? Like something you're burnt out on eating, but yet the meat I never get burnt out on. So,
well, do you ever? But so Chad, you or Dave, either one, do you ever get burnt out though on certain kinds of meat? Like, for example, I before I started doing carnivore. No, okay. So I do, right? So like I eventually I will. I used to love hamburgers, and I would eat them all the time. But the reality is, part of the hamburger that I loved was the bread, and mustard, ketchup, some pickles, onion slices, that kind of stuff. But now, we still will have just hamburger patties sometimes, and I will still put some cheese on them. Sometimes I'll still put mustard on them. Even I will put dill pickles on occasion on them. But the truth is, I get to where it's like, yeah, I don't really want to eat then. So there are times when I just don't have an appetite for much of anything in reality, probably. And so, but that is one of the things that that certainly happens to me.
Yeah. Well, I think too, for me, I've mentioned this before, but I eat just a couple things now, like my lamb, my chuck roast,
Yeah,
and ribeye, and
we've been eating a
some
lot of chuck
ground.
roast.
Yeah. Did you ever try doing it without cutting it apart, the sous vide thing, without separating the thing like you were talking about with the chuck, or are you still separating out like the chuck parts?
We've done it both ways. And let me just say hello to Sandra and Ron and John that are all on my channel. Sandra from Australia. It's awesome that you're here. We've been doing it both ways. We've separated out the chuck eye or the chuck steak portion, and that is the part we like the best. And we do, if we find good chuck roast, we separate that out if those are significant in size, and we will just sear those and eat those as steak. The roast part we actually will sear, and then a lot of times, sometimes we will still just eat it as steak. Sometimes we'll still put that in a crock pot, right? And it's more of a roast with just the juice from the sous vide. But we have been sous videing a fair amount, and so we really like it.
So I don't like the crock pot thing anymore. I did one again last week, and I just don't like it anymore at all. I used to. I just like it either sous vide or grilled, and then if anything's too tough, I'll throw it in the instant pot. Sometimes, see, like what I'll do with my whole chuck is I'll know where the steak parts are, whatever, and cut those out, eat those, and then I'll just kind of test to see how tough the tough parts are. And just by kind of chewing it, I know I can throw it in the instant pot for like 7 minutes or 10 minutes. And then that way it's all nice and good to go.
So, Chad, there's an interesting comment here from In and Out.
Now I know which way your door is facing on Dave. The way he's talking, I'm like, I always wondered where the door was in that room. Now I know it's over there.
Can you see?
Yeah, it's this way.
Yeah.
Can you see that?
Funny though, you know what I mean? I've always in my head kind of like try to envision it.
Can you see the that comment there from In and Out, Chad?
Yeah, let me pull it up here. Let me look down here. In and Out. I'll let you guys run first, and I'll go last on that one.
You want me to jump in first?
Yeah, go ahead, Dave.
Sure.
I wouldn't say it was a low calorie version, but I have reduced the amount of fat that I'm eating with the meat just because, you know, if there's too much, you know, you spend a little bit too much time in the bathroom. Or, you know, it's not as pleasant. So, you know, I've reduced the amount of fat just to kind of control things in that department. But apart from that, no.
So I guess maybe he'll give us some clarification. So, like, for example, if you're eating ribeye and you're just trimming off some of the excess fat around the outside, you're still getting a good percentage of fat, calories, right, from fat in that meat. Or if you're eating ground beef, but if what you mean is like leaner cuts of meat like chicken breast or, you know, sirloin without any marbling and that kind of stuff, no, I never have. And I from most of the people I've talked to, I mean, getting too low on the fat is not ideal. And I've never counted calories, so I have no idea about calories. Which I know you guys have heard me say it dozens of times. I eat until I am stuffed. So I've never tried to count calories or restrict them, and I've never done leaner cuts of meat. I've kind of always gone off, I guess, what I've been told, and as time has gone on, I just kind of think that's probably good for me, which is, you know, the 70-30. You know, my wife does more fat than me, and she probably is closer to 80-20 in fat.
Yeah.
And I'm probably 70-30, which is ribeye, eggs, that kind of bacon. I mean, all that's about 70-30. So I've never counted, and I've never tried to tweak it, I guess, right?
And for me, the first year, I ate a lot more extra fat, like in butter. Like I'd have a ribeye with a bunch of butter. So say like my first 6 months, I was eating almost a stick of butter a day and ribeyes or chuck roast. And then as year one kind of closed out, I was down to quite a bit less butter and slowly. And these days I just ribeye and chuck, and I really don't eat any extra butter or anything else. If I eat New York steak, I can tell I'm craving fat. I just really can tell. There's just this unsatiated feel. I can get that belly full, like okay, it's kind of getting too much to eat, but I don't feel like I'm satiated. And if I eat a bunch of butter with like New York, then I get that satiated feeling. So I know that I can't have anything less than, roughly what's in that range. And I definitely notice that quite a bit. So I guess that's the only thing. And chicken went out at about 6 months. Pork went out at about 1 year. I still have bacon about every 3 months. Actually pulled some out the other day. I might cook it up here in a little while. So yeah, I'd say for me, it's a no-go. It just doesn't work. But there's this one athletic girl who's extremely athletic. And I know she was on somebody's channel one time. She's really big on Instagram, and she thrives on New York strip steaks. And if she has a ribeye, it's too much for her. And so again, I think it's that personal issue.
Yeah. After a while, you just figure out kind of the level that you want to be at. So that's an interesting. Yeah, I was just responding to Desert Dog there in the comments. I'm actually doing. I've got about 4 or 5 studies right now on gout and uric acid pulled up on my laptop, and I've also started doing a food log, and which I'd mentioned to you guys earlier. And I'm testing uric acid levels every day. I've had a lot of questions about what my uric acid level is and those types of things, but I think there's a huge amount of misconception about the fact that uric acid levels are the direct result of gout. It's kind of like cholesterol. Just because you have high cholesterol does not mean that you have carotid arteries. And just because you have high uric acid levels does not mean you have gout. There's a significant number of people that have excessively high uric acid levels that never have gout. So anyway, I'm doing that, and I'm looking to see what I have been testing mine. So that's the video I have in the works right now. I hope to have it out very soon. And I am going to check out that book just to see what they're saying.
This is also when I buy chucks at the store where I don't mind. I don't always buy my chuck in the big whole roast, which I might start doing once in a while, but I actually almost like buying them just, when they're already cut, because I can see what I'm getting and try to get the pieces with a bit of the chuck eye and stuff.
One of the challenges living in the middle of nowhere is I can't go to places like you, Chad, and buy 10, nice chuck roasts. We go through and, if you find a couple nice looking ones out of the 7 or 8 that are there, that's kind of what we're limited to. So,
well, if it's on sale, I just buy whatever on sale, at Sam's when I go in there, and I'm not as picky.
We don't have a Sam's.
But I've been doing so much lamb recently. I'm not really doing the chuck as much
or anything.
I prefer ribeyes on a grill. I love cooking on carbon steel is what I cook on, which is the same indifference as a griddle or cast iron, really.
Yeah,
I love it finished on that. But I do like the sous vide still, even over like I just like it because then the ribeye is still really pink and yummy inside, and it's more like, it's like a rib roast kind of thing.
Dave, did you get an air fryer?
I haven't yet. No, I'm still frying everything. So
so Chad, you picked one up though recently?
Yeah, a little while ago. No, the girls have been using it though for like asparagus and some other things. I've got a grill outside and the weather is so mild here, I can just go out and cook on a grill all the time or cook on an outside thing. So I just find for me, it's just as easy to go out and throw it on the grill because there's no cleanup.
Yeah, we just
I do clean the grill, but it's not really cleaning. It's like the brush and you go,
yeah, you
brush
burn
it and you're
off
done.
last
Yeah.
time's grilling, and it's just
And
throw
any
it on there.
splatter out there, I don't care about because it's just going to the sides of how a grill would be.
Some people love them, and we have one, but
I think they're good. I think they're a good appliance,
yeah, I think
alternative.
for us, it's just like it just makes more cleanup than if my wife just uses the stove and skillet,
Yeah.
right? Now, if I was eating, like the way I did a number of years ago, I absolutely I could air fry French bread pizzas and throw in some French fries and tater tots in the little tumbler and stuff like that. It'd be awesome.
Mhm.
But
My
I'm not
the
eating that
girls
stuff.
made sweet potato fries the other day, in it. And like I said, they like the asparagus, so it's getting used. And I don't mind once in a while, trying something in there. Like if I reheat the chuck steak in there, it works okay,
Yeah. Oh,
kind of thing. But then again, it's just as easy for me to walk out and flick on the grill. That's the problem. It's just that convenience thing that it's just easier to do that.
so
Call me
yeah,
simple and lazy.
now
It just works.
now that some people are here, let's just ask the question we started with, Chad. So has anybody gone through real stressful times in your life that kind of,
Yeah.
thrown you off track, or how did you deal with those kind of things? I mean, we all have those times, right? I mean,
Yeah.
no one's immune to tragedy at some point in life, or even hectic times, whatever. Some things are more tragic than others, and that's not the point. How do you deal with those? And Dave, I'm not sure if you jumped in there earlier and said do you have any method or do you have any approach to dealing with that kind of stuff?
No, I've been really bad with that stuff in the past. Like you're talking about the story you had there, where you said like you're a few months in, and something happens, and it's just like, I'll just go back to the bottle, or I'll just go back to the chocolate cake, or whatever. That has been a common theme throughout my life, and it's never taken much. Bad day at work. Semi-bad day at work, anything is enough to throw me off.
Yeah, I actually I talked to Professor Barquet many months ago in one of my videos, and we talked about the carb addiction thing and those types of things. It was interesting that a lot of times that it's the addictions that we end up going back to, right? Or whatever that thing is, it's just normal for us, right? That happens. And he said that in some ways, and I'm not saying this is always the case, but his observation, which is pretty cold and hard and clinical sometimes, is if you're addicted to something, you'll use any excuse to run back to it, right? It doesn't matter what it is. You're addicted to donuts, Mickey D's, drinking, porn. I don't care what it is, right? You find any excuse to return. And of course, if you're trying to come out of that, if you've just started carnivore, 90 days ago, 60 days ago, that's already stressful. It's already a big change in life. There's already, you may be getting pressure from people around you. You get pressure when you go somewhere and you don't eat what they've made, and you have all of that kind of stuff you deal with. And then you have additional stress or difficulties in life. Then, all that stuff just compounds. And a lot of times it's like, yeah, man, this is just not worth it. Right. And plus, if you're only 3 or 4 weeks in, you may still be feeling like crap, depending on, what your transition was like and stuff like that. So,
yeah, and you always end up bargaining with yourself. It's like, I've had a bad day. Just be nice and comfortable, just to have that drink or that donut or whatever. And it's like, well, okay, if I do have that, then I've just got to promise myself that I won't do it again tomorrow. and blah, blah, blah. And you go through this bargaining process, and then you start to feel more comfortable as you're bargaining yourself more or talking yourself more into doing it, more into having that drink or whatever. And then, but the trouble is you have the drink, and then it's just a downhill slide from there, right?
I still do that in some measure when, my holiday rule is I have no rules. And I was particularly bad this past set of holidays that we just came through, because usually I'm pretty strict. It's like, okay, yes, my daughter made sugar cookies, I'm going to have one. But when I was traveling, again, I wasn't at home. It's like all this stuff. And I thought, well, I've already had a sugar cookie. I'm not going to eat any tomorrow. I mean, what's it matter if I eat 6, right? I mean, that's the kind of stuff that you do. And, so we all do that to certain levels. The hardest part is for me in the past, the thing that is crippling is not the one day, right? It's the fact that one day turns into 3, and then a week, and then a month, and then 3 months later, you've gained back 30 pounds, and now you're totally demoralized. Now it takes a year for you to get back on track, because you realize, you put in all this effort to kind of climb up the mountain, and now you've just thrown it all away. I mean, that's how you feel. At least that's how I have felt in the past. And that part, I still do that in other areas of my life, not diet specifically, but still. I mean, with exercise is one of the examples. You go great for 6-8 weeks, and then it's like, oh, I'll take today off. And then I'll only work out one day next week. And then all of a sudden it's like, the workout I have is walking to the counter to get my coffee.
That one hits a bit too close to home.
Yeah. And then,
well, I think,
and then it's like, God, what an idiot. And then you get demoralized, right? Because you failed again, and you failed multiple times in the past. And it's like, you just, why bother?
Well, I think how long you've been doing it does matter, because for me, this is just life.
Yeah.
Doing it for over 4 years, I don't have, these are my patterns now. Oh, I did eat more ribeye this week. I took out like 2 different ribeye, and I don't have ribeye that often anymore just because it's hard to afford it, kind of thing. But I did take out a couple ribeye, because they're a really good treat for me. Unfortunately, one of them was just horrible. It was just a bad, cut, but that's kind of the way it goes. But it's still good. That's kind of the way it is. For some that came in late, this life struggles. I was telling some of the others earlier, my dad's in the hospital. He's 92, some problems besides some cancer coming in. He was on blood thinners. They're going to do a biopsy. They took him off. He's got a blood clot. He can't walk now. Things aren't looking good. So that's kind of how this came up, this life struggles on our health. The other thing I was bringing up earlier that a couple of you might have missed out on that's interesting is my mental ability to cope with this is quite good. I mean, I'm obviously really, mentally beat down every day and not sleeping well. And it's a lot of things. And we were saying this earlier again, for some of you late, like I probably would have in my fat days, like binged into a chocolate cake or, really gone off the handle. And I think the mental side would have had me much more messed up. And that's the interesting thing, is that I'm still even keeled about this. And I haven't lost a parent yet. And I'm sure some of you out there have lost your parents. So more than I do what you're going through. So I can't really compare it with anything else, but it's not like I thought it would be. I'm handling it better than I thought, I guess, I would be. And it isn't like breaking me down to fall back to those bad habits. So I got to say those bad habits are gone completely.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. So we've both been in, and we mentioned this maybe before we came on, or maybe at the very beginning. The 3 of us are in long enough, right? That, I'm obviously not, I am much looser still than you guys, but you're into it long enough. It is just a lifestyle thing. It's like, it's just what I do now. It's not like I'm trying to make the transition so that the stress affects me in other areas and those kind of things, but not in the area of what I eat necessarily, because it's just, now this is just what I do. Right. Which does make a difference. The hard part is if you're just making the transition. So, that really is the the real issue. And by the way, just something which I remember reading this a long time ago, and I've told my kids this, and when I realized it was true, it was maybe a bit of a shock to me, but it is reality, right? Um, your children will never love you as much as you love them, and it's the same with parents, right? So I've lost both my parents, and yeah, obviously it's a hard thing, but and fortunately I've not lost a child, right? But it's always a hard thing to lose a parent. But I mean, people that have gone through losing children is got to be really, I hope I never experience it, right? So
Yeah.
it's always it's not something you want to experience, but I know people have to
Well,
deal with that type of stuff.
I think too, this is where, we talk about all these other things besides some of us, whatever we came into it for and why we stay. It's just so much more than weight loss or so much more than getting back certain things. It ends up just spreading out through everything in life, which is what I like about it.
And if you're
there's
healthy,
definitely more to it.
If you're healthy, your body absolutely can deal with stress better.
Yeah.
Than if you're not. It's
and
just
my
like,
no sleeping that I've been going through. Because like I said, I've been up at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. Before, I know I would have been eventually sick as a dog by just beating my body down and getting 2 hours of sleep a night and being so stressed every day, where I'm not that bad, except for the cream in my throat. It's like,
it's just like getting sick, which I think we talked about this a few weeks ago. We don't get sick very often. It's not because we're around less germs. And there's still sometimes, I mean, you may still, right? But the reality is, the healthier that you are, the better your immune system is equipped to deal with that kind of stuff. We come into contact with viruses and bacteria every day. You cannot avoid it. It's just the reality of it. And when I was not as healthy as I am today, you're sick more often. It's just what happens.
Yeah.
And then stress, lack of sleep, all of those kind of things, they all take they all tax the body, and they all impact it. And so any of those things you can eliminate, which was in the very beginning one of the things we talked about, right? Carnivore Strong. It impacts you in so many areas of your life. And if you can continue outside of the area of diet with exercise, with making sure you get proper sleep, eliminating stress, all of that kind of stuff, right? It all helps without a doubt.
How is the exercise going for you guys?
Silence.
Nobody's.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, no. How's it going?
Yeah.
It's going slowly.
Yeah, I haven't. Mid-December was the last time I even thought about it, to be honest.
It's not a habit yet.
It was, and then I relaxed it a little bit too much, and then the beginning of the year, everything else started piling on, so I just haven't got back to it.
Yeah.
What's the guy Vayner something? What is it? I think some of you guys might know who I'm talking about. He had like the wine store thing he got really big on. He's really big on social media.
Gary Vaynerchuk.
Gary Vaynerchuk or you know who I'm talking about then, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I watch him sometimes, even though he swears a lot. But it's like he was talking. I just watched one actually this morning when I was doing some stuff, and he was talking about going to the gym, and he's like, you know what I can do? In his typical voice, 8 lousy push-ups, man. He goes, but now, like a year later, I can do a lot more, he goes, but you got to do it every day. And it was interesting because when he was talking about that, the same thing, you just got to make yourself do it. And I think some of the stuff we kind of go, well, yeah, but it's like listening to some of us on the carnivore fans, and even when I listen to other people, sometimes it's just that nice motivation to kind of keep you up and go, okay, yeah, they're doing it, and it helps kind of keep you motivated. And I think what I've got to do now is, again, this has kind of been a thing, and I had a really good heart to heart with my dad last night. And I think maybe too, me trying to work out now again will help, burn off that energy, or you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think
it
too,
reduces
because I
stress.
couldn't talk to him for a while. You know what I mean? Things are bad. Like I couldn't, and which it kind of builds up the stress really bad, when you can't. So I think too, I might be jumping back into that here tomorrow or the next day kind of deal. Just to burn off that. I don't know what it is. I think you guys know what I'm trying to say. When you know what I mean, just everything's just come to this huge hit, and I kind of just need to burn off that.
I was gonna ask you guys a question concerning Sandra's comment here, but that's why I was chuckling.
Which one?
Sandra said my hair's been falling out. I was
Oh.
gonna ask you guys if you'd had that issue. So
I just cut mine today. I keep it this short for a.
if you're still losing a lot of weight, Sandra, that actually will cause hair loss. My hair did thin,
I'll go to that and
and
we'll come back.
my wife says that it's actually, now it didn't, it thinned. I used to have really thick hair. I didn't go bald, but it's actually not as thin as it was. So normally that does happen if you have a lot of rapid weight loss. So, and I lost a lot of weight. So I don't know where you are on that journey, but yeah. So
Here's
grateful.
one thing I just noticed.
It came back strong. At least that's, yeah. Okay, super. Thank you for posting that. So
here's one thing that is weird. Today when I shaved my head, I noticed there's more gray in it today. My hair's been getting darker and darker all the time, but I think it's all the stress. Because, people can get so stressed, it leads to gray hair. If you've heard of that, people having traumatic events. But that was kind of interesting. I just thought about that when I was thinking, man, when I was looking at the hair today, when I shaved off what, was there, I don't let it get too long. It was definitely more of that thing. But I want to hit this really quickly, and then you guys can each hit it, and you'll probably agree.
Oh, I was just going to answer that.
Go ahead. Yeah, I would say no, unless you can really supplement the fat, because if you look up like protein poisoning or rabbit starvation, one of those two terms, you'll see why, because they're too lean. So it would be a good meat, but you would really have to substitute it.
That's exactly what I was typing. I'm glad you pulled it up. It's a fine meat. There's nothing wrong with rabbit, but they are extremely lean. So you're gonna have to make sure that you wrap your rabbit in bacon, or you're gonna have to make sure you smother it in butter, or you're getting your fat somehow, right? If you're just eating, it's almost like eating nothing but skinless white chicken breast. Right?
Yeah.
There's no fat there.
Even if you mixed it 50-50 with like fatty chuck roast, I would say you're still going to be too lean, because it's that lean.
Yeah.
So it literally is going to need, you're actually going to need to buy fat and really substitute it in.
But if you're going to eat rabbit a couple times a week and you're going to fry it in butter, again, we don't track fat by meal, right? But I don't, it's certainly not bad to eat. If it's free meat, right? I wouldn't hesitate to eat it. I've eaten plenty of rabbit in the past.
Fat.
It's just keep in mind that, like, if you're just going to say, well, I'm going to go eat nothing but rabbit for the next month, it's pretty lean, right? You may not feel great because you're not going to get enough fat.
Yep.
Hey, William.
Yeah, fry it in bacon grease. But
yep. That's true. I think any radical shift of diet too, any stressor, in the beginning, it's stressors are good and bad. I know later in diet, different stressors, cold plunge things, stuff like that can also help, but it's like that huge initial hit. I've, read enough on that. What if they're killer rats? Kill them first. That's all you got to do. If they're killer rabbits and you kill them first and eat them, then they won't be killer. Monty Python's going through my head as I watch the rabbit attack the guy. Monty Python. Oh.
Love Monty Python.
My blood work always shows a sodium deficiency, even though I add plenty of Redmond sea salt to my foods. Iodized salt, I would say stay away from. That's
Hmm.
my view. If you're going to add iodine, just get the, what is it, Lugol's 2%
Yeah,
solution, add it to water and down that. But I would say, see, salt wise, I've never had a problem, but I just use the pink Himalayan salt from Costco and then sea salt. But I use that Malden sea salt that I like a lot for flavor and crunch.
I'd be interested to know, like, what could you please define plenty in and out? Because I think
True.
that's quite subjective. Like for me, my salt is like I'm just like cranking out the salt shaker like this, and it's just like people turn around and look because I just kind of don't stop.
Yeah.
And I have it sitting next to my food, and when the food doesn't taste salty anymore, I resalt.
Yeah, that's what we do.
So for me, plenty means like I'm never, the salt shaker is always within easy reach.
But absolutely, you can. I mean, we salt our food to taste, and what I've found is, if we take food, in fact, this past Sunday we took a chuck roast we sous vide to church for a meal afterwards, and I put so much salt on in the beginning. We sous vide it. My wife resalted it when she seared it. She said, "Should I put on some more?" And I said, "You better not, because people are going to eat this, right?" And when we got there, I still could have put more salt on it. But for most people, it's like, man, like you just poured it on. But here's what I would do. I would absolutely add electrolytes. I mean, you can make your own electrolytes super cheap. Not to plug my video, you can go find a ton of them. But
you got a video on your channel.
Yeah, I have a video on my channel. You can add no salt and Redmond's, and you can also get magnesium if you want. Make your own and drink 2 glasses a day, right? But you can't drink, like Gatorade is not really an electrolyte. There's no sodium in it. But if you've cut out normal food and you're doing carnivore, your salt intake is way down from what it used to be. And so we heavily salt our food. We still do electrolyte drinks from time to time, especially in the summertime, and sometimes 2 a day, right? So we intake a lot of salt.
Sodium deficiency, I don't know. I'm obviously not a doctor, not a thing. I think some of the things that they're showing with deficiency on, I'm still skeptical because it's based on the SAD diet, like how much vitamin C we need, how much of this we need. And almost everybody is low on, B12, except for carnivores, and they don't make a deal out of that. And that's something you can get really sick without,
Yeah.
And I think to Dave's point, plenty of salt. I just notice if I start feeling like I need it, or like when I was working on more, get a little bit of leg cramp, I just put salt and water and drink it, and I'm pretty good. But that's,
you can just do that too.
Me. I'd be interested in what the, doctor guys would say, Chafee or, Barry or something. Because I would think they would say the same way, just, put a bit more salt if you can taste it. Not taste it, but you know what I mean? Like to taste, if you're salting to taste and there's not, because that Chafee a while back, I don't know if he started salting his food, but some time ago he got off salting his food for a while, kind of as he varied. So, but yeah, I wouldn't do the iodized salt. If you did want iodine, I'd go the other way. Otherwise, get that Malden salt. I can plug, I have a little link. You can give me like 2 cents on Amazon affiliate link. But it's like Malden salt's really good. I know like Dr. Baker has it all the time. It's this huge flaky sea salt. And I find I can use a lot more of certain salt. Like if I have, like when I dry brine with the pink salt, I'm still going to be adding salt later. If I dry brine with a whole bunch of smoked salt, it kind of stays better and I don't need salt. But if I add that Malden salt for the crunch and the flavor of the sea salt, it's different than the pink Himalayan salt, and I like that flavor. So maybe that's too, using different kinds of salt help that I'm even getting more in, and from different sources. That's,
those big
Uh,
flakes of salt make it look really extra tasty, right?
oh, they're so good when you crunch into them. They're like so good, But that was weird if that happened that a year in, then that shouldn't have been a shock thing. That's kind of, I'm trying to think who was covering hair loss. I saw somebody have a video recently. I don't know if it was that steak and butter gal or someone else had a video recently on hair loss, but it was one of the other gals that do the carnivore, one of their channels. And I saw it because I think they notice it more than one guy wearing a hat. Another guy with pretty much shaved head, kind of thing. Chuck still got hair, but
I still have hair.
So we don't really want to count what he says about hair.
Yeah. Well, no, mine did thin actually, but it was when I was losing weight. But that's the other thing though. There's a bunch of issues that play into the hair, right? I mean, that's part of the thing. It's the least important part of the body. So, whether it thins, it falls out, it's replaced. The body doesn't care quite as much about it. So, maybe issues with other things, with not enough fat in your diet or a lot of those kind of things. I don't remember the video specifically that you were talking about, Chad, but I do know that lots of those ladies, including my wife, eat way more fat than what than what I do.
And they need to.
They like it.
They need to. Yeah, it's
right. They feel much better when they really have increased their fat, and there may be some other minerals or other things that you can do. I don't know. Besides, if you're not losing a lot of weight, then or under a lot of stress, those things both cause hair loss. I know. And those usually will grow back, right? So
go for it, Dave.
So what was that, Ted?
Are multivitamins basically worthless, or is it a can't hurt type of thing?
Well, I don't take multivitamins, and part of the reason I don't take them is because I remember reading a newspaper report about a study that had been done, and this is about 20 odd years ago now, saying that in this study they'd shown that multivitamins added no benefit to anyone that took them. And often the studies are not worth the paper they're written on, but that's just something that's always stuck with me. And I've always thought, well, the multivitamins, it's all kind of synthetic anyway. So yeah. So I don't take them myself. How about you guys?
When nurses call them bedpan bullets.
So we take,
they just go through you.
We take some, depending. So I have been taking some vitamin C daily. But again, that's really related to my experiment on uric acid levels that I'm conducting on myself.
That might be more of a targeted than a multi. I would say that it can't hurt. It's not going to hurt type of thing. Are they worthless?
Yeah, I don't know.
I would say no, just use them up, because you're going to find most people don't. And all the other big guys, Chafee, Barry, everybody's going to say the meat has everything that's available in it in a natural state, and it depends on how you're going to be getting it. So I don't think you would need it. If you do need nutrients, you would have to do blood work and find out what you're low in, and then target those specific things to really get that back up. And I think you could target them with, maybe some organ meats or some other things too, to get certain ones back up.
Sardines.
My view is they can't hurt. Yeah. Fish, other stuff. To me, they are worthless. And I did it. The first year I took multivitamins until I learned, because, this sounds like a science experiment, and I was kind of paranoid when I started the carnivore thing, to be honest. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to hedge my bets and do it. And
there are
even the iodine. I did the iodine for a while, and I don't notice any difference.
Yeah.
So I still have it. I might just use it up.
There is
I'd just go ahead and use them up.
The two things I think that Dr. Berry recommends, depending on your diet, and where you live, vitamin D, K2, and iodine.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't go outside, you don't have enough vitamin D. And if you don't go outside in the sun and get exposed, right? So you lather up with sunscreen and you wear a hat and dark glasses and turn your collar up, you have issues. So you may be a little, you know, if you're a vampire, then you probably have some vitamin D issues. And also, you know, his thing is.
If you're wearing dark glasses, a hat, turning your collar up, you've probably got more
Yeah.
issues than just lack of vitamin D.
Yeah.
Well, that's true. That's probably true. But so again, you know, I'm bad about taking them just because I just forget. I mean, I don't bother
Yeah.
very often. My wife will put a couple drops of iodine in my coffee. And if I'm on top of things, sometimes I will take vitamin D and vitamin 2K. It comes in one pill. I mean,
I'll play with stuff. I
we
always
do
test out everything.
we do absorb
I'm gonna
some of
answer this really
that stuff,
quickly.
but I don't know how much.
On my chin, for some reason, it never changed. When the top of my head changed, my facial hair never changed. And somebody said it's actually different, like DNA runs, or there's different, something about that is a totally different thing than your hair on your head. So
I will not show you currently, but my chest hair has all got darker except
eggshells.
in one spot.
Oh, but it says, yeah. I knew
so
a couple of the
eyebrows.
gals. Yeah.
Does she eat those or just rub them on her head?
I think a lot of people, I know some people, I was actually going to play with eggshells and powder them, get them, then bake them, you know, so there's nothing left on there, then turn them into powder. I was going to experiment with that.
Well, I could send you some because we have a lot of eggshells.
We got some. My wife has them enough where I could eat a couple a day.
We're at 30, about 30 chickens right now.
Yeah. Chicken, pork, eggs, bacon, seafood. Yeah. I think, you know, it's one of those things, though, I don't think it hurts. And the longer you go, the more you kind of, it's kind of like when you first have kids. If all of you have had kids out there, you're so careful. So everything with the first one for the first year. And then the second one, it's like, you know, whatever, doing diapers or whatever. It just becomes this fast whatever routine, and you just kind of go with it, and you realize that you don't need child safety locks on every single cupboard, every single appliance, every single thing. You don't need corner bumpers all over the house. I mean, when I was a kid, a lot of us older, we got around sliding in the back of the car. When my dad would go around corners, we'd slide from one side of the car to the other on the big old bench seats in the car, you know, before we had multiple strap. And not that I would always babysit my kids today, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There is that point of.
I wouldn't, but you know,
yeah,
that's just me. I'll get my channel banned by saying that.
Yep.
Yes, it's a different world today.
It is.
Let them roll in the dirt. They're fine.
Getting kids
build
out
their immunity.
is just tough today.
Right.
Yeah, the eggshell thing, the only thing I was going to try it for is to cut out dairy and see if wherever this was like this, not that I want constipation, but with no gallbladder and I eat OMAD, if I get too much fat, man, it just rips through me and I want to somehow slow it down. So my test would be strictly because of no gallbladder, wanting to do OMAD and dumping all that fat in me at once, if that would work as the Parmesan cheese works, and then I could dump cheese. That would be my experiment for why, but I've heard that about that.
Have any of your friends asked if you are on Ozempic? I don't have any friends, but if I did, they wouldn't ask me that.
No one's asked me either.
No one's asked.
No.
People did ask me if I was okay early on because they thought I was dying from cancer or something like that. But
I had that same thing actually. My neighbor, you know.
Hey, and guys, I hate to do it, but I actually rarely do I get a call at this time from a fellow tech, but I do have one, and I was really had a pretty hard break here at 4:30. But so I sent him the voicemail, but I'm going to call him back. Anyway,
Okay.
thanks. If you've been on my channel watching, thank you very much. If you haven't been on my channel watching, just leave Chad and Dave's channel. No, I'm just kidding. But you can still come to mine sometime. Thank you guys. I really appreciate it, and I hate to just jump out so abruptly, but
No,
I do have
you
to
got to
get
go.
out of
You got to
here.
go. I
So,
think Dave's going to be jumping, so we'll
Yeah.
call it a wrap.
I
I'm gonna be heading
appreciate it
to,
very
yeah.
much, guys. You have a great day, and I'll
Thank
talk
you,
to you.
Beth.
I'll talk
Thank
to you
you.
too soon.
Yep.
You too. I got to point the right direction. You too soon.
Cheers,
All right.
cheers guys.
Ahui ho.
Thanks for tuning in.
Yep.